Starting with the release of Pokemon X and Y back in 2013, each new generation of games has introduced a new main gimmick for battles. With X and Y, it was Mega Evolution, Sun and Moon had Z moves, Sword and Shield had Dynamaxing, and currently the newest one is Terrestrialization from Scarlet and Violet. And even though Mega Evolution is the most limited of these four, as it's the only one that's not applicable to every Pokemon, most fans of the series agree that it's still the best one of these gimmicks. Not necessarily gameplay or lore-wise, but just because thematically, it's undoubtedly the coolest of the gimmicks. So when it was revealed that the currently newest Pokemon game, Legends ZA, would finally see the return of this beloved gimmick, people were extremely excited, especially because it meant we would obviously be getting a bunch of new Mega Evolutions, which we of course did. In fact, we got a whopping 26 of them, which, fun fact, is the same amount as there are letters in the English alphabet, since the game obviously has a letter theme going on. I mean, it's called ZA, or Z to A, you get it. Anyway, speaking of fun facts, I wanted to go through each one of these new Mega Evolutions and give a useless fact about each one of them, similarly to what I did for every Smash Ultimate character a while back. I am going to be sticking to only the 26 new Megas introduced in the base game, by the way. The Mega Dimension DLC added a bunch of new ones, but like, that literally just came out, so you gotta give me some time with it first, man. And a couple facts in this video might become outdated thanks to the DLC, but again, I haven't really had time to check it out yet by the time that I'm making this. And one last thing, while my username and channel icon are based on a Pokemon, namely Jigglypuff, I'm nowhere near as well versed on this series as I am with Smash Brothers. So a bunch of the facts I'll be going over actually came submitted from you guys on Twitter and a YouTube post, and I'll of course be mentioning them whenever they come up. But with all that aside, let's cover all the new Megas. I'm not gonna go in any particular order, so let's just start with, Malamar. Yeah, why not? Mega Malamar was revealed in a live-action trailer posted on the official Pokemon YouTube channel before the game's launch, and it featured a taxi driver who is clearly supposed to be Zack from the actual game, one of the first trainers you fight and who's notable for just being awful at Pokemon battles. He has the same blue jacket with the taxi car pin and Boltund logo, he looks pretty alike, and not to mention it's also a taxi driver that's portrayed as kind of being a loser, just like Zack. Mega Victreebel was also revealed in a trailer, though an animated one this time. It premiered on August 21st on the official Pokemon YouTube channel, and was made to be one of those found footage type horror movies, where some people exploring an old abandoned building eventually encountered a Mega Victreebel, confirming its existence. Like I said though, this was a live premiere on YouTube, and its description name-dropped Mega Victreebel, which is unfortunate because you could read a premiere's description before it actually goes live, meaning the Pokemon Company accidentally spoiled Mega Victreebel's existence before it was supposed to be revealed. Oops. Mega Hawlucha was the last new Mega revealed via an online trailer, this time depicting a wrestling match between a Hawlucha and a Machamp, where after a bit of a struggle, Hawlucha eventually ends up Mega Evolving and then winning the match in the end. This is pretty well known, but what's lesser known is that in Mexican regions, they hosted an entire official CMLL match, which is basically like the WWE for Mexican Lucha Libres, and it was live streamed on the official Latin American Pokemon YouTube channel. There were a bunch of performers portraying various Pokemon, such as this lady as a Togepi, and this lady as I think a Sylveon, but the star of the show was Mystico as Hawlucha, going up against Hechicero portraying Machamp. Sorry if I pronounced those names wrong. Just like in the animated trailer, Team Hawlucha had a bit of a struggle, but ended up winning in the end, though this time without Mega Evolving, obviously. Oh yeah, and this fact was actually told to me by a friend of mine over on Discord instead of someone from Twitter or YouTube. As for an actually submitted fact though, the Angry Mudkib let me know that Mega Falinks is currently the only Mega from the 8th generation of Pokemon, which might be why they chose to give it a sword and a shield, as Gen 8 of course started with Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Very clever. Another submitted fact comes from CYPPYZ, which covers all three of the Mega Kalos starters, namely that all of them incorporate their non-Mega's shiny appearance in some way. Mega Chestnaught makes the outer brim a much darker reddish color, as well as making the front two spikes green, which comes from the shiny form. Mega Delphox gets a much darker color at the bottom of its robes, which matches its shiny, also just being a much darker color in general. And Mega Greninja got a lot of black parts on its body, just like how the shiny almost entirely got a black color to match actual real-life ninjas, which is ironic in this case as ninjas wear all black to hide themselves in shadows better, but Mega Greninja's whole deal is foregoing stealth to focus on offense instead, as stated in the Pokédex. Speaking of starters though, let's go over the ones you get to choose in this game. Here's a basic one, but you know how Mega Meganium's Pokédex entry states that it can fire off solar beams instantly, and that this has the unique name of Mega Soul Cannon? Well, this is actually the only instance in all of Pokemon where a unique move is fully confirmed and technically performable in-game, despite not actually being a unique signature move that you can select. If you use Solar Beam as Mega Meganium, it's still actually just called Solar Beam. It is true, however, that Mega Meganium can shoot solar beams basically instantly, despite the move normally having a very long startup time. Though this also isn't unique to Mega Meganium, as any Mega performing solar beam can do so. Heck, even a non-Mega Pokemon does so if you press plus to use the plus version of the move. Still though, according to the Pokédex, this is in some way a unique move, even though that's not actually reflected in gameplay. Also, here's a quick bonus fact: Meganium is my all-time favorite Pokemon. Sorry, Jigglypuff. Anyways, moving on to another starter. According to Then There's Just Jaden, the official 3D render of Mega Emboar shows it wielding its fire spear with its right hand. However, in actual gameplay, it always uses its left hand. This is either just a simple oversight, or it means Emboar is canonically ambidextrous. I'm just gonna call it an oversight and move on. Lastly, for the starters, Mega Feraligatr is currently the only Mega evolution ever that doesn't share a single type weakness with its base form, as normal Feraligatr is weak to Grass and Electric, while Mega Feraligatr is weak to Dragon and Fairy, thanks to its new Dragon Dual typing, which of course resists both Grass and Electric, but is weak to Dragon and Fairy. Thanks to a leak I've seen about one of the new Megas introduced in the DLC, I know there's now another Mega that doesn't share a type weakness with its base form, but I won't spoil who, so at least for the time that I'm writing this, Feraligatr is the only one. And hey, speaking of dual typings, Mega Barbaracle is the only newly introduced Mega to replace one of its types rather than adding a type. In this case, changing its secondary water typing into fighting, for some reason. As for a bonus fact courtesy of Wellmake 2005, it's also the only Mega evolution ever to replace a type that's not flying, in this case replacing its water type, as Mega Charizard X, Mega Gyarados, and Mega Altaria, the only other Megas to replace the type, all do so with their flying type. And hey, speaking of evolution and Gyarados, who I just mentioned, there's a really old theory that Dragonite and Gyarados actually swapped evolution lines somewhere during development of the original Gen 1 games, as visually speaking it would make a bit more sense for the long blue serpent Dragonair to evolve into Gyarados, as well as the fact that Dragonite almost doesn't resemble Dragonair in any way. You know, it's a similar story to how Butterfree might have originally been planned as an evolution of Venonat based on their designs. Anyways, the reason I'm bringing this up is because if this old Dragonite and Gyarados swap theory is true, then Mega Dragonite seems to have finally corrected this decision somewhat, because it actually resembles Dragonair a lot more now. It has an orb on its tail, wings on its head, and the horn on its head is even white now, all matching Mega Dragonair. Its shiny form is even blue to match Dragonair as well, though that does mean the color still doesn't match completely, as shiny Dragonair is pink, but oh well. Speaking of theories, another old Gen 1 theory is that Gengar is supposed to be Clefable's shadow, based on a lot of Gengar's Pokédex entries saying it can hide in shadows, that it has a very similar body shape to Clefable, and that back when Clefable was a normal type, it could never physically touch Gengar since it's a ghost type, which also matches as you of course can't actually physically touch your shadow either. And the reason I bring this up is that once again a newly introduced Mega could give some credence to this old theory, as Mega Clefable gets two big wings on both sides, matching how Mega Gengar gets two big arms on both sides, as well as how Mega Clefable floating in the air contrasts Mega Gengar literally coming from the ground. If that was a deliberate design choice to contrast Mega Gengar, then I think that's really interesting. Anyways, let's drop the theories for now and speedrun some more hard facts. Have you ever wondered why Mega Excadrill looks so damn stupid? Well, it's because it can actually become a full drill now. However, the only way to see this in-game is by using the move Drill Rush, during which it turns into this full drill form, despite this not being its signature move and also never showing up in the Pokédex if you play its animations. Alright, this is an easy one that took me a while to figure out. The weird armor that Mega Scolipede gets is actually supposed to be the hard shell that its previous evolution, Whirlipede, had for basically its entire body. That's pretty cool. Minty Stingmoon 4787 let me know that Mega Drampa is one of only 2 Pokemon that changes its classification in the Pokédex when Mega evolving, with Drampa going from the Placid Pokemon to the Imposing Pokemon. The other Mega this applies to, by the way, is coincidentally also a new Mega from Legend CA, that being Mega Feraligatr, who goes from the Big Jaw Pokemon to the Double Jaw Pokemon. I have a strong feeling the DLC is gonna add more Mega Pokemon that change its classification, as that just seems like something they seem to be doing now, but at the time of writing this, I of course have no idea. Anyways, what was by far the most commonly submitted fact for this video was about Mega Dragalge. You might be able to see where this is going. Its Pokédex entry reads that it spits a liquid that causes the regenerative power of cells to run wild, which, according to science, means that Mega Dragalge can canonically give people cancer, which is kind of wild. This isn't something I'd normally mention, but again, this was by far the most commonly submitted fact, so I really felt like I had to. Also, this technically makes Mega Dragalge the second Nintendo character capable of giving people cancer, at least that I know of. What a strange ability to give your characters. Moving on, let's cover what seems to be the least loved Mega by a wide margin. Mega Pyroar. Ugh. This one's also kind of well known, but regular male Pyroar's mane is supposed to look like the kanji for fire, or the kanji for big or great, which also works and is the same symbol used for the iconic Fire Blast design. Mega Pyroar, on the other hand, gets a way bigger mane regardless of gender, which now seems to resemble the kanji for blaze instead. Anyways, going from one of the worst looking Megas to, in my opinion, one of the best, Mega Froslass has a shocking amount in common with Mega Gallade, seemingly all unintentionally so too. For starters, Gallade is the only other Pokemon that evolves from a Dawnstone, making the Dawnstone the only evolution stone where every Pokemon tied to it can Mega Evolve. It's also the only split evolution Mega where the other end of the split got a Mega evolution in a game before it, namely with Glalie and Gardevoir. And it's also the end of a split evolution that can only be one gender, while the other end can be either gender. And lastly, it's the only other instance where both ends of a split evolution can Mega Evolve, again with the other one being Gardevoir and Gallade. I don't know if all these Gallade parallels are intentional, but personally I doubt it. In any case, I think it's pretty cool, and some of those facts were submitted by Marks919, by the way. Speaking of parallels, you know how important Pokemon trainers tend to have a signature Pokemon? For example, Cynthia has her iconic Garchomp. Well, Mega Scrafty might be the only Mega evolution, or even just Pokemon in general, that's specifically designed to parallel its signature trainer, namely Naveen. Considering it ends up wearing its shedding skin as a jacket of some kind, and it's stated in-game that Naveen is the one who actually designs the Team MC jacket the main character ends up getting, since Naveen is a clothing designer in-universe. I think that's really cool. Naveen is a very fun character in this game, and them potentially basing a Pokemon's design on him makes it so he'll be remembered even in future games that he inevitably won't be in, but Mega Scrafty might be. Moving on, the fact I got for Mega Eelektross goes deep into nerd territory. The two fake arms it gets are supposed to be fake Eelektrics made of mucus, which is its previous evolution. However, Mega Eelektross is almost 100 kilograms heavier than base Eelektross, even though Eelektrics only weigh about 22 kilograms, meaning the fake ones are over double the weight of the real ones. This makes sense though, as the fake ones are made of mucus and don't seem to be hollow, while the real ones obviously are because they're evils. Not to mention Mega Eelektross also gets a big mucus tail, which undoubtedly also adds some additional weight. Another fun fact I found is that according to the official Pokemon Legends ZA website, scholars refer to the left fake Electric as Electric, and the right one as right trick, which is just stupid, but also pretty funny. And for the last new Gen 5 Mega, Chandelure. I'm sorry, but this was like the one Mega where I had some serious issues coming up with a fact for. The best I managed to find is that despite there being over 1,000 Pokemon designs, I'm pretty sure Mega Chandelure is the only one with heterochromia, aka two differently colored pupils. The closest I was able to find was Blood Moon Ursaluna, because if you look at its eyes, one of them is white and the other is black. However, when it attacks, you can see that the pupil of the black eye is still green, just like the other eye, meaning it's not actually heterochromia, since that's specifically about differently colored pupils. That does make it so Mega Chandelure is kinda cheating though, since it basically doesn't have pupils, its eyes are just a solid color. But you could also look at it as that actually being its pupils, in which case, yeah, Mega Chandelure is the only Pokemon form with heterochromia. I still think that's pretty interesting. We only got a few more Megas to cover, so let's go over them. Willow's TV let me know that Mega Skarmory's new gold armor might not be real gold, considering it's actually a bit lighter than regular Skarmory, despite gold being denser and thus heavier than silver, or steel, whichever it's supposed to be. After doing some research, I found that under specific conditions, you can heat up silver, or more specifically zinc, in such a way that it appears golden, despite not actually being gold. So that might be what's going on here, which would be really interesting. Despite this, Skarmory loses 30 points of defense when it Mega Evolves, which would line up with it being gold, considering gold is also generally much weaker than silver. But then again, it gains those 30 points back in special defense, so I'm not really sure. And one last thing, Skarmory now having both a silver and gold form might also be a reference to its origin games, namely Pokemon Gold and Silver, which is pretty cool. Speaking of stats, here's another fact that might not actually be useless, this time about everyone's favorite new Mega, Starmie. Normally whenever a Pokemon Mega Evolves, it gets some boosts to its stats that always add up to 100 additional points. However, Mega Starmie actually gets a whopping 140 additional points instead, so why is this? Well, this also happens for Mega Mawile and Mega Medicham, who in the more traditional Pokemon games have the ability Huge Power and Pure Power respectively, which both do literally the exact same thing, namely doubling the Pokemon's effective attack stat. But in this game, Legend ZA, Pokemon don't have abilities, so Mega Mawile and Mega Medicham probably got those 40 extra points in attack just to kinda offset the fact that their abilities, which they would normally have, aren't present. Mega Starmie is new to this game, which of course means we have no idea what its ability in future games will be yet. However, the fact that they chose to give it those 40 extra stat points just like Mega Mawile and Mega Medicham seems like a pretty clear indication that Mega Starmie is going to get an ability similar to Huge Power or Pure Power. There is another new Mega that also doesn't get 100 total stat points, however this time it's because it gets less than 100. Wow, I wonder who the poor sap that got done dirty like that is. Well, it's one of the 2 spoiler Megas in the game, so this will be your only spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's Mega Zygarde. Oh, okay, that actually makes sense. Yeah, this is because if Mega Zygarde did get a stat increase of 100 like every other Mega, it would have a combined stat total of 808, which would be the highest of any Pokemon, barring Eternamax Eternatus, which doesn't really count as that's an unobtainable form that's just meant to be a boss fight. The legitimate record holders are both Mega Mewtwo's and Mega Rayquaza, with a base stat total of 780. And those two kinda make sense to be the quote-unquote strongest Pokemon, at least thematically. So Mega Zygarde was given a bit less as to not overtake them. Though funnily enough, it's only 2 points behind them, sitting at a base stat total of 778 instead. And for our last Mega of the video, who's again also a spoiler, Mega Floette. Or I guess Mega Eternal Flower Floette specifically, whatever. Another easy one, but this is obviously the only Mega ever that's of a Pokemon that can still evolve further, namely into Florges, which is even brought up in the story, so I guess that makes this kind of a lame fact. Technically though, this Pokemon can't evolve further, since specifically only Eternal Flower Floette can Mega Evolve, who you can't actually evolve into Florges yourself, so I guess it still counts. Okay, fine, if you want an actually interesting fact, I have one as submitted by SokoBamBossPiz145. Namely that Floette is the only Pokemon to have 3 entirely unique base stat totals. Normal Floette has a BST of 371, which is unique to it. Eternal Flower Floette has a BST of 551, which is also unique to it. And Mega Eternal Flower Floette has a BST of 651, which is also unique to it. Also, I think it's hilarious that Mega Eternal Flower Floette has a higher base stat total than Florges, the evolution it skipped out on, who only has 552. In fact, that's only 1 point higher than base Eternal Flower Floette. Damn, Florges gotta be one of the most shafted final evolution forms of all time. Anyways, that covers all the new Mega evolutions. Again, only the ones from the base game. Though, like I said, if people like this video enough, I wouldn't mind covering the DLC's new Megas too soon. Let me know what you think. And maybe even suggest a fun useless fact for any of them while you're at it. By the way, my personal favorite Mega evolutions are Mega Quote is Cool, Mega the Flying Fire, Mega Luca Pasuka 2004, Mega Giant Firing Coal, Mega Epic Mario, Mega CPJ, Mega Lurifax 1, Mega Alex Kinchley, Mega Lime the Chef, Mega Pixel Boy, Mega Exo Bear, Mega Frankly Goomba, Mega Sheen for the Win, Mega Roy BGB, and Mega Sil 700, and a couple other cool Mega Pokemon. Wait, did I grab the right list? This is just a list of my Patreon supporters. Ah well, those are pretty cool too. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to leave a like and maybe even subscribe if you enjoyed. And please have yourself a great rest of your day.